Morning, y'all. Yeah, just had my coffee and everything. So, sorry if I sound a little bit off as a result. Anyway, since I don't want it to take up too much time tomorrow morning, we're just going to do a quick reaction to the new season's opening that was released ahead of the actual episode on the Precure channel's live stream yesterday. And as a little bonus, as well as a means of getting this video past the 8-minute mark, we'll also take a look at 3 villains who had their VAs announced and interviewed by the Anime Times shortly after the live stream. With that, here's a little appetizer before we get to the main course tomorrow morning, with Tropical Rouge's opening. Of course, things start off with our 4 main characters dancing that one dance I don't recognize. Yeah, this old man doesn't keep up with your kids' little night fort dances or whatever you call them. The only dance that really matters is the monkey, which, of course, this opening has. Also, if y'all start twerking, I'm out. But yeah, pretty much everyone was joining in on their little dance, including the side characters, Laura through Skype, and even the villains. Yeah, we'll get to you guys in just a minute, don't worry. The most significant side characters we saw here were probably the residents of the Grand Ocean, including the current queen who, just judging by Laura's look here, might have a coup on her hand in the near future. We then saw our heroines in their school uniforms, which of course were sailor uniforms because what else would they have for this season? Also, apparently all 4 of them could perform Shei Shonagon's Buster card attack. We then got some quick cuts that effectively got across a little bit of everyone's personality through their major character traits, like Sango really being into fashion, Minori studying or just flipping through books really fast. Yeah, that can't be an efficient way to hit the books. And Asuka, hey girl, you know your VA isn't the swole one in this cast, just saying. Speaking of whom, Manatsu was playing the most intense game of patty cake ever with Laura. Pretty sure these two are just a few beats off from a full-on DBZ exchange. And after a cute and rather clever little sequence involving a massive ice cream cone tower that was built from all of our heroines almost dropping their scoops, we got confirmation that I chose the right Kamen Rider trinket for this season. I mean, there just has to be an orange amongst all of this, right? We then got the aforementioned cuts to the side characters and villains, including Chongy Ray, who will be the first villain of the season starting tomorrow. A seahorse named, Butler? Actually, I think it's supposed to be read as Butler, they just happen to be spelled the same in katakana. These 2, plus the big bad of the season, are the villains whose VAs we'll talk about later in this video. The other 2 generals include a shrimp maid, and I'm not exactly sure what this is. Maybe a sea cucumber? Though she also kind of looks like a doctor and even kind of looks like Doc Ock from the Spider-Verse movie, so who knows. Anyway, after a nice shot of the tropical path reflecting the cures and their respective charm points, we got to see the big bad of the season, the Witch of Procrastination, who certainly lives up to her name as she didn't even bar to get out of bed for this OP. Also, all the generals, minus Butler, got little ships that I guess will act as their main means of transportation. This poor horsey Butler, who doesn't even have a real name, has to hoof it the entire time. From there, we got the best part of any respectable Precure OP, the battle scene. This one thankfully involved all the generals, so we could get a good idea of the power sets of both sides. Chongy, I think, used a projectile version of Crab Hammer, which allowed us to see some of Manatsu's sweet parkour, which I think was also meant to establish her main character jack-of-all-trades skill set. Following this, the shrimp maid used Side Beam on Sango, who appears to be the tank of this team, mostly using her X-shields, basically outright saying that she didn't want to get hurt. And Minori backed her up by revealing that she was the Dejiko of this team. Actually, it didn't exactly come from her eyes, but rather these avocado slices that just appeared in front of them. Still looks kinda creepy though. Doc Ock then used her evil stethoscope, geez, right after a season where we had a whole team of good doctors, to break apart some rock, which were quickly dealt with by Asuka, who seems to be the bruiser of this team. The whole sequence wrapped up with a preview of the team finisher, which I hesitate to say rips off Smile because that don't look like a phoenix. Who knows, maybe it's Star State Bird, the Nene. Again, Precure, we would appreciate the rub there just for our tourism, please. The opening then wrapped up, of course, with some wave dancing, as if this wasn't already the most stereotypically Hawaiian thing ever. Still, overall, this was a very cute and well-animated sequence that I'm sorry if it looked a little bit choppy here. It's just that I don't want to risk the copyright bots before we get into the actual show.
I will say, this whole thing exudes a ton of personality, and not just with our main heroines getting across their gimmicks and quirks, but even most of the antagonists. Again, I think it really helps when the generals participate in the battle sequence instead of just some nameless grunts. And outside of these well-animated and choreographed fights, we got to see little bits of our main heroines in exaggerated forms of their everyday lives, at least I'm assuming. And of course a lot of side characters, though I don't think we can really gauge them just by their dancing. On that note, while the dancing was a little much in my opinion, a tad bit too chaotic, it was still fun and complemented the opening by Machiko very well. And while the song itself also isn't exactly my cup of tea, yeah, I'm not exactly hyped on Hawaiian-esque music when I hear the real thing all the time, I also won't deny it has a great energetic beat that gets across the vibe of the series very well. So overall, a good opening that gets across the personalities of many of our major characters across, though also a tad bit too chaotic at times.
With that, let's move on to the second half of this video and take a look at a few villains and the actors who are going to portray them.
As I said, this is coming from an Anime Times article where they announced the VAs and also briefly interviewed them, basically just asking what they thought about their characters.
I'll be sure to include a link to these interviews, which will also include a summary for tomorrow's episode in the description of this video. Anyway, let's take a look at the first villain of this season, Chongy.
Mr. Crab's ripped cousin will be portrayed by Hiroshi Shirokuma, who I can't personally say I'm very familiar with. I'll throw some characters up here and everything. The best I can recognize him for is as the Japanese dub of Big Macintosh from MLP.
Man.
Okay, I would be totally okay if that one word was his catchphrase.
Well, no, according to Shirokuma himself, he mostly says katai, which basically means he's feeling lazy, appropriate for a villain who's supposed to encourage laziness. But still, he intends to play his character with a ton of enthusiasm, as his character sucks up everyone's enthusiasm, though not the viewer's enthusiasm, as he wants them to cheer on the Precure.
Everybody got that? Good!
Yeah, the more you think about these villains, the more counterintuitive it all seems from a metaphysical standpoint, don't it? Moving on to Butler, he'll be voiced by Fuminori Komatsu. Not a lot of big roles here, though I think I only really need to point out one. Jean-Pierre Polnareff.
Hell with that hair, even kind of looks like Polnareff.
Anyway, Komatsu said he was looking forward to playing this role as he liked his character's comedic side, driven by his poker face. Yeah, it's kind of easy to have a poker face when you don't really have a face, dude. Still, he also noted that his character had a lot of emotional ups and downs as he worked hard as the butler to these villains, which sounds interesting and could make him one of the more fleshed out antagonists of the season. He also hoped that everyone could follow along with all of the characters' emotional moments, and that Butler in particular could get them excited.
We all know you're gonna lose out to a little doggy in the end, so don't overhype yourself up too much, dude.
Last up, we have the big bad herself, the Witch of Procrastination, who will be portrayed by Rei Igarashi. For some old school fans, you might recognize her as Mistress Centipede, the very first villain of the Inuyasha series. And in magical girl circles, she's probably known as the worst mommy ever, Persia Testarossa.
Quick, everyone to protect Fate Mode stat!
Anyway, in her interview, she also expressed a lot of enthusiasm of landing a role on such a popular kids show, even if it was as the big bad. She noted that the witch has a lot of mystery surrounding her, and that she would do her best to portray such a character.
Let me guess, does it involve reviving your dead daughter who you keep in a tube?
Nah, but seriously, of these three villains, I am probably the most intrigued by this casting choice. To me, Igarashi just has a perfect villainous voice that can make even a sloth witch one of the most intimidating antagonists this side of the spear.
Also, fun fact, she's married to a fellow voice actor, Sho Hayami, who is also known for all of the sociopaths he plays. I wonder if the witch is married to one of these guys.
Another fun fact, they adopted a son named Hideyuki, who's also trying to break into the VA industry.
Quiet now, he's gonna play the semi-final boss of the series, just so that they could have a whole family of VAs who play a bunch of evil monsters. But yeah, that's all I have to say for now. Overall, I will say this opening, as well as the casting of the big bad of the series, does at least have me intrigued. Still, what do y'all think? Does this opening excite or exhaust you? And do you think Butler deserves to get a stand? Feel free to comment below, and until tomorrow, farewell for now, my friends, and oh no, you ain't gonna do any meme dances in my house, you bunch of freeloaders!